and he uses that animal to get, get dates, or he borrows his uncle or his nephew's little boy and goes to the park. I'm that little boy. I ain't getting no action.
You my homie. You is my homie. So, big homie.
But I will tell you though that there are changes coming to the studio. Have I told you about this?
Yeah.
Okay, so there is going to be a live stream on the way. Okay, and you not only will see it on social media, but you'll also be able to see it on your television.
Bam.
Okay, so that means I'm gonna have to come dressed like Robert now.
We about to blow up.
So it is happening, folks.
It's just about to go down. Y'all get ready. Y'all get ready. Get ready.
855-525-5683. Robert, talk a minute, and I'm gonna move my camera over there so they can see you.
I'm gonna serenade everyone who's listening. Get ready for big day. Dude, why don't you just put up a little Cardi thing, man? Dave, you're special. Let's not get both of us. So Dave right now is trying to work camera angles. And I really wish I could see Dave. Dave is really gifted at this kind of stuff.
There you go.
So Dave is the man with the plan. So, all right, man. So give me some NGL.
All right. So yesterday, what you all don't know, and I'm still trying to. How did I get roped into this in the first place? Who decided to invite me down to the AEA?
Tracy Ann roped us into that, man.
Oh, okay. So anyway, as you all know, we've talked off and on about this Forward NGL program. It is a program designed to set up academies in school for various disciplines, and it runs the gamut from technology to science to theater it really runs the gamut. And from what we understood is that this program, although the basis of it was created by Forward NGL, they vary from community to community. And from what I understand, there's about 40 different school systems that is running this program now, and have
with no statistical data that it actually works, right?
Well, from what the only data that
Did they tell you some of that yesterday?
No, it was all about the program. But the only data that they've been providing is the fact that graduation rates have increased. Okay, and that seems to me that their main focus is increasing graduation rates. And I guess it doesn't do me any good now to ask questions because it's already baked into the system. It's going to happen. Right. But my concern would be what happens to. Well, my thing was, how many kids can you show were placed in a secondary school?
They don't care about that.
Okay, right. So that was going to be one of my questions.
They don't care about how many get employment thereafter. None of that matters.
Right. They never opened the floor for those types of questions because, in fact, I have the paper that I started writing down questions.
So this was not a question.
No, this was a buy-in. These people that were there many of them had already been to Nashville to see the program in action. Okay.
So this
was just a buy-in. This was the first step of 4 that will take.
How many parents were included in this process?
They had a session for parents, from what they told us yesterday.
And how many parents showed up?
That session was not for parents yesterday.
I know the session they had for parents.
I didn't ask that question. And they had a session for students, and the student session was going to begin after hours, and they had students in there the last 30-45 minutes of our session. So because obviously, if you're going to have a program, my biggest complaint all the time, we always talk about black males, but there are usually no black males in the room.
How many were in the room?
There were quite a few. The first thing I noticed was how many black people were in there. There were over 150 people there.
How many black?
And I would say it was about 60-40 white to black. I'd say that.
Black, so it was 40% black?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
Okay.
There were quite a few teachers. There were quite a few black principals.
Okay. What was the conversation though?
Well,
a little bit about the conversation.
The whole point was to begin putting together the modules that will be taught in the school system. Okay, how do you want them to look? What do you want to talk about? What do you want these kids to learn? So that session yesterday was a brainstorming session of 150 people. They broke us up into groups, and the whole point was for all of us to brainstorm to start a roadmap on what type of academies we want in various schools.
I know you did an entrepreneur.
Okay, so yeah, this was just brainstorming right now. We didn't get into specifics.
Okay.
But there were other business owners there as well. Of course, you know that my thing is teaching entrepreneurship. You know, but in one of the academies that they showed us, they actually had a sewing class. Practicality type things showing these kids. It really bothers me when a kid says, "Well, why am I taking algebra? I'll never use it," which is the biggest fallacy that you could ever think about. You use algebra literally every day. When you drive in your car, when you're negotiating terms, when you're counting your money, when you're calculating your hours of pay, you use it every day. You just don't register. It doesn't register to you that it's algebra.
Right.
So one of the things that they want to do is do relevance as it relates to topics.
Right.
Okay, here's why you're going to use this. Okay,
right, makes sense.
Part of the reason I think that people, particularly black people, get bamboozled financially is because we don't know mathematics. So science. In other words, the goal now over the next 4 months is to start fashioning this to determine what type of modules that will be in each school. Okay. Now, each school, there will be a base module.
Every school except?
There'll be, their goal is to have this throughout Pulaski County.
So it won't be at Central, though?
Yeah, it's supposed to be at Central as well.
Central will have a module as
well. Okay. Their goal is to have this throughout the county.
Okay.
Every county should have this. Okay. I mean, when I say throughout the county, that means Jacksonville, Pulaski County, Little Rock, and North Little Rock. And by the way, their superintendents were there. They've already bought into this, bro. Yeah. Okay. The mayor, some of the mayors were there from those cities. Now Frank wasn't there. I think Frank's in Washington this week. Mm-hmm. But the point is that they've already bought into it. They want it to happen, so it's going to happen. So my thing is at this point, and by the way, this is not about the takeover. Okay, these are separate things that are going on. Okay, this is what you want your school to look like, what you want your schools to teach kids. Their whole mantra was that we've been teaching kids the same way for the last 50 years. Okay. And they have. And it hadn't changed much at all. And their whole thing was to try to get teachers to understand that the way you used to teach, you can't teach that way anymore. Okay. They're different demographics. These kids are different. They have different stimuli. One of the things that I was concerned about, to give you an example, so we were in a group, and one of the things, with my computer background, obviously, one of the things that I said that these kids need to be computer literate. Right. And the group decided that they would put that under technologies. There's a difference. Right. So as I said, after we came back in the mass group, and they went from table to table, group to group, and asked, what were your thoughts? I had to say, I said, let me just make a point here. And I've noticed that a lot of people are grouping computer literacy under technology. That's not a technology. I said, let me give you an example. If you're a chef, my technical skills is being able to use a knife and prepare food. If you are a teacher, your technical skills is to be able to teach. If you are an administrator, a principal, your technical skills is to be able to administrate. Right. Do you get that? I said lumping technology and computer skills together says that you all don't understand computers. And they applauded me because I was right.
Damn, you said that in the meeting?
Yes, I did.
And who? Damn, you went hard, didn't you?
But that I was right.
That was a good point, though. That was a great point.
Any discipline you use, right, that's your technology.
That's your technology,
Okay, that's not computer skills.
That's not your education.
Right.
Yeah.
That's not your. Computer skills is to be able to not just surf the internet, but to be able to understand software, to understand bugs, to be able to repair hardware. That's computer technology.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. So that was great. I like that. So you had a bunch of business people in the room. Mm-hmm. Was there ever a conversation around employment after high school?
Well, that's part of the reason that they want business involved, is because they were saying that quite often they have had support from business, but they don't know how to utilize businesses.
Who doesn't know how to utilize
the public school system? They don't know how to utilize the businesses to, like setting up internships. All of those things are going to be important moving forward. They talked about in some of the modules that we watched where kids actually, in fact, the group, I don't know if we saw the video the first time, but did they show the ones about the helicopters? Mm-mm. Well, these kids actually were pursuing aeronautic engineering. So they were near, well, this was in Nashville, as a matter of fact. They actually traveled to the the Army base at Fort Campbell, and got hands-on training about helicopters, and they built models in the school and things of that nature that will give them actual hands-on training, because theory is great, but every job that I've ever been on, regardless of what job it is or was, they always retrain you. Okay? They don't give a damn about your theory. And to give you an example, the computer industry is a classic example of that. You can go get all kinds of training you want, but if you don't know the difference between RAM and a hard drive, I don't give a damn how much training you got. Okay?
Matter, right? Yeah.
Or you don't know how to open the back of a computer. It don't matter that you got a master's degree in all that stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
So what they're trying to do is give practical applications for kids. And it makes sense, because a lot of kids are coming out of school, and the other argument that we didn't get a chance to make, that hopefully if I go back, and I'm probably gonna go back, because here's the bottom line here, and what concerned me in that group, and I'm pretty sure there were others, but all of these people are high degree people, and their argument is going to be, and I can see it, I could kind of, it was palpable, is that you need to go to get a high school diploma and go to college. No, you don't. And in my group, I talked to them about my daughter, who has a master's degree, who is $75,000 in debt just by getting that master's degree. No, you don't necessarily need to go to college. We need to be able to stress trade schools where you can go for 2 years as a plumber, electrician, and you can be making $65,000 coming out. You see, that's what we need to stress. College is not for everyone. And my concern is that's where they're going to hang their hat. As far as our goal is to make sure all these kids get a college degree. No. Part of the reason that's, if you look at today's generation, part of the reason that our tax rolls are going down, because usually you went to college, you got a degree, you came out, you bought a house. You don't do that anymore, because you come out now and you're $75,000, $80,000 in debt. Okay? So as I go through this process, my thing is, and look, I'm not begrudging anyone who goes to college. Don't get me wrong on that. Okay? Mm-hmm. But number one, and I've said this over and over again, everybody doesn't deserve to go to college. College is not a right. College is a privilege.
Everybody doesn't. Not everyone wants to go to college.
Well, that too.
Yeah.
But I'm saying
I think everybody deserves.
Well, no, they don't. College is a privilege. You get that privilege by doing your due diligence. Okay,
yeah,
everybody, everybody doesn't deserve to go to college. Everybody is not college material. That's just like everybody is not football material. Everybody is not basketball material. Okay, what we have to start teaching our children is, what's your niche? Find where you fit in and you can make money. Okay, and if you're going to go to college, now this is just me, go to college to make money. So when you get a degree, you're going to make money. Don't go to college for some penny ante degree that you're going to come out like, no offense, I love reading, I love English, but what good is an English degree going to do you? Exactly. You see my point?
Yeah, but
That's a waste of money. What we should be doing that is if our kids are going to go to college, then these are the degrees that you're going to make money in. These are the upcoming, and there's a website where you can go to that will tell you money on just about every profession out there. That's what we ought to be steering our children to. Then you go back. Then once you start making that money, then you go back to school for that English degree.
But see, that speaks to the whole conversation about this program, right? Mm-hmm. So, while I think it's great that they bring all these,
it's baked in, Robert.
Yeah, I mean, no. I'm not trying to say anything like that. But you know, I'll tell you what would be problematic for me if I had a child in my school district that you're just going to spring some on me and just pop it out there. Now I understand I understand it's going to be mandatory that every kid has to go through it. Mm-hmm. But like I said, there would be some details that I would be very uncomfortable with not knowing. And
so when they call that meeting, you, that parent, are you going to show up?
I definitely would.
But that's the point. Because this is why I keep saying it's baked in.
If I get the usually the way these things work, the meeting is Thursday, I get 11 Tuesday.
That might be true.
And so, yeah, I'm probably not going to make that.
And I would hope that's not the case.
Well, that's always the case. Because, again, if you're saying that the process was the way it was yesterday, then I don't think it's been, myself, personally, I don't think the thing has been properly vetted. And by that, I mean, I know what you're saying. It's already baked in. I don't think it's been properly vetted. And if it hadn't been properly vetted, then how are we even comfortable going forward with it if we don't have any empirical data that says, hey, you know what, this is a good thing. But that's just me.
Well, it's been in Nashville for over 10 years.
But again, in Nashville, the only thing they kept up with graduation rates. Mm-hmm. Nobody knows if these kids got jobs. Nobody knows if these kids went to college and graduated. You don't have any empirical data to say, hey, this program is great. Other than, and again, I understand that the job of the school district, their job is to graduate kids. So that's what they're focused on. But I want to know, you've been doing this for 10 years with the business community. Has the unemployment decreased in Nashville due in large part to this program? Yes or no?
All of those are valid questions.
They are, but those have yet to be answered. Again, I'm really uncomfortable when people suggest things to me, right? Mm-hmm. And then they don't allow me to properly vet them.
It's baked in, bro.
I know it's baked in, but that's the way they want it. They want it baked in.
It's here. It's the only choice, and the whole point in bringing all of this up is that, hey man, I'm not being shown on camera, man. Because they're just showing Robert.
How you can't see yourself, Dad? You got to see yourself. You got to see your big pretty self. Why don't you just put the little thingy up there, man? Why don't you turn it sideways?
Yeah, let's try.
Jesus, Dad. Yeah.
Weird doggy.
Put it in the thingy. Put it in the thingy up there. You don't want to put it in the thingy.
I don't like using other people's stuff.
They shouldn't have left it. They shouldn't have left it. Oh, Dave, you messed it up. Dave messed it up. We're off now. We're off. We're off. We're off.
It won't let me do it that way.
Yeah, just stick it in that little thingy up there and be done. No, all right, Dave, don't worry about it. Just put it back where you had it. That's cool. It's cool.
But it's saying it won't work that way. It says live won't work on that with that rotation.
Oh, it won't work with the rotation?
I don't know why. That's weird. So I'll try to sit a little bit closer to you. There you go.
So how can you? Oh, you're looking at our internet, right?
Yeah.
Can you see yourself now, Dave? Are you there?
Hey, y'all. Hey.
What up?
Hey.
What up?
All right.
Okay.
But the point in this, the only choice that parents, black people have at this point is...
Hold on now. Don't do that. You can't say that because you're going to try to make me come out of retirement. You can't tell me the only choice black folk got. No, we got more than one choice.
What's the other choice?
I don't know, but don't say that we ain't got but one.
The only choice that we have is to get involved in how these modules are going to be set up.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying. Because you can still control the process.
The fix is in.
Right. You can still control the process, but as far as the overall program is concerned, it's here.
I got you.
It's not going to change. So
I got you.
the only choice, as I said, is to get in and control and be a part of the process. And that's why, as I sat there, I debated. I didn't decide to sign the sheet that I would come back next month until the end of the program.
Really?
Because I debated whether or not I wanted to be a part of it.
You gotta be there. You gotta be that voice of reason, man. Because you made a great point. Everybody clapped. The thing I realize about a lot of these meetings, man, is that you don't have a lot of independent thought in those.
No, and you don't have a lot of practicality either.
No.
Because, like I said, most of the people in there were educators.
Yeah, and you know how they are.
And I hate to be mean, but you're right. They think differently. I mean, they made the point yesterday that, she said that she had talked to a teacher. She said, I could sabotage this whole thing if I wanted to. And what that means is they get on their little phones and stuff like that, talking to one another, and decide that, hey, we're not going to participate. We're not going to do it the way they want it to do. So,
well, that's the problem with the district now.
I know. So that's why they've spent so much time, I think, trying to get the teachers involved. Because they said in the past what they've done is that they come up with a program, throw it at the teachers, and say, hey, this is how you're going to do it. Which is, when I heard that, I said, well, that's stupid.
That's the system.
Right.
The system
and that's just not Little Rock. That's everywhere. They do that. You have these administrators sitting in a room deciding whatever. I mean, you do that. That's what politicians do.
But that's everywhere, though. That's in every form of anything.
Right. I was just saying, that's what politicians do. So what they decided to do with this is that, okay.
Why you pointed at me?
Who?
You. Why you do that?
I know. I was God, you being with something. I thought.
Coming at me.
But the point is that's what they do. So they made the point yesterday to say, look, we want you all involved. You all can control what's being taught, the academies. Okay. So that included the teachers, the administrators, and there was one black principal from a certain high school that, in our group tried to throw his little weight around. I just kind of like.
Well, tell me his name. Come on, Burton. No, I'm not going to. Come on, man.
No, I want.
Why you want to spare him?
Let's say he was. I believe he was from a school out in Sherwood.
A school in Sherwood?
Yeah, it rhymes with thrills. But anyway.
Silver Hills. Okay.
I didn't say that.
Okay. Let me look at.
I didn't say that. But I believe that's who that was. But anyway, part of the problem is that there he was trying to administrate the group. Bro, we don't need that. Okay, but I just kind of sat back because, I'm not trying to carve out any fiefdom or look good. Your boy Mike Port was there as well.
Really?
He was there talking about how great the program is. So thanks, Jackie. Jackie said that's better. Someone says the fan is blocking now. What are y'all trying to see? My God. Is that better? I hope so.
Silver Hills principal is white. You said it was a black.
Well, I believe maybe it was a junior high. I don't know, but he had a tag on it that said Silver Hills principal.
So let's go back.
I don't know. I was trying not to look at tags. I was trying to look at people and try to, because I wasn't interested in labels, if that makes sense. Okay.
So what was his biggest?
No, he just kind of took over the marker and wanted to write everything down, and there was an arrogance. Maybe he's a vice principal. I don't know. I like I said, I just glanced at his tag because I want to see who he was.
Okay. What was his name? Because I can't.
I forgot his name.
Of course you did.
No, I'm serious. I have. It wasn't important to me. I just, as I looked around the room, and there were other people who had similar tags on.
Right.
That told me that they were in administrations.
Okay.
They kind of were doing the same thing. And if this process is going to work, me personally, you're going to have to drop your tags. If you come in there saying or having the attitude that, hey, I'm an educator, I know what I'm doing, which that was the arrogance that I got from him. No, dog.
Really?
No, dog.
Yeah, I get that, man.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because if this is going to work, we know what you all have been doing hasn't worked.
I would just ask one question had I been in the room. How many of y'all in here like black people?
You know, well, there were quite a few black people.
It don't matter.
You know, but
It don't matter. Like, that means something.
but it hasn't worked what they've been doing. So to try and throw a monkey wrench in it, or say have the attitude that, you know, it's kind of like Antonio Brown's agent who came out the other day. Antonio Brown would never do anything like that. He has daughters. And so just because you're an educator,
Yeah.
you've been working in a failed system.
You are the failed system.
You see what I'm saying?
Sorry, you just are the failed. You're part. You are the failed.
You know,
system.
so
If my team loses, I'm part of the
I'm
losing
part of that,
team.
exactly.
So you are part of the
So
failed
don't take it personal, teachers, if you're listening. These kids.
system. You are part of a losing system.
Will you stop being mean,
No,
Robert?
because they need to understand.
Gosh.
Because hey,
I'm trying to let them down easy.
I was always told you could never correct the problem until you identify that you have it. So
And-
just admit that y'all have failed our kids.
Well,
And that's collectively. That's not. I'm not saying
not the
that
teachers
one
by
teacher
themselves.
individual. No. I'm saying the whole district has.
Right.
District wide.
Right. The
And the
whole
reason I
state.
criticize the district, the reason I criticize the teachers, is because the teachers who say that the kids are their biggest, or who they're there for the kids, but you haven't fought for the kids.
well, and that was one
You
of the
have not fought for the kids.
and that was one of the other points that I made to the larger body as well, because I wanted to make sure I made that point, is the fact that, you know, kids have got to understand that you care about them. And I'm going to tell you, a kid is like a dog. A dog knows immediately whether or not you like him or not.
Yeah, right.
It's just a sense.
Just like kids.
And kids are the same now. Don't nobody have to, I can't believe they gonna call kids a dog. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about an emotional response. And they know right off the bat. And if you've got teachers in those schools, and I made this point, this is part of my point to the larger body. If you've got teachers in those schools that are saying stuff like, I got mine, you need to get yours, you need to be out of here. Because right away, those kids are not going to respond to you
right.
the way you want them to. And I made that point to the larger body.
Right.
You know, and they applaud it because they know I'm telling the truth. You can see them nodding their heads.
Okay.
You know, so you're right to some extent. And then I think there are some teachers who go in with good intentions, and then the system destroys them.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? And they get to the point where, hey, I'm just trying to get to retirement,
Yeah.
or I'm just trying to get out of this school.
Yeah.
And because, I mean, you know teachers, I know teachers. And the teacher I know is a very good teacher, loves her students. But her number one complaint is about administration.
Yeah.
You know, they wanted her to be a principal. She said, no, I don't want to be a principal. It's too many politics involved. You're not actually, it's not about educating children, it's about politics.
It's about navigating
You see?
politics. But that's in everything. You got politics
Right.
in everything.
Right, but she's saying that being a principal here in Little Rock is more political. And I dated a teacher in Nashville, same argument, you know, and loved kids, spent tons and tons of her money, you know, to dress up her classroom, you know, outside of, it wasn't school money, it was her money.
Right.
You know, and she went school shopping every fall, just like kids did, for her classroom. You know, so a lot of it is, you know, these teachers have got to understand that, look, there's a new day. These kids are different. They think differently. You know, they're still kids, and I agree. Someone made the point that, hey, look, kids are still the same, and I agree. And I've said this a lot of times. What has occurred is adults have changed.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree. I totally agree with that.
Kids still like to have fun. Kids still like to play games. I would argue that every child wants to learn. And I say that because when I worked in Project C in Cumberland View, which was the toughest housing development in the city,
Okay.
when I worked, I realized, because a lot of people would say, oh, those kids, you know, they gonna do this, they gonna do that. Those kids wanted to learn, but they had to buy in. They had to understand that Mr. David had bought into them. And what I meant by that, when Mr. David said he was going to do something, Mr. David better damn well do it.
Right.
Because soon as you don't do it, first thing they're going to say is, see, you just like all the others. So that was my main goal, that when I went into that housing development and became the program director, that I did what I was going to say. If I said I was going to take you to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, you're going to Gatlinburg, Tennessee.
That's important.
Okay, if I said I was going to take you to Memphis to Slave Ship Speaks and the Civil Rights Museum, you're going.
Right.
And when they realized that Mr. David had bought in, those kids showed up every day. I didn't even have to ask. And if they didn't show up, they'd come by and knock on the door and say, Mr. David, I can't go. My mama needs me to do this. And then it got to the point where mama stopped, because I go talk to mama and say, hey, Miss So-and-so, we need your daughter or your son at Project C. He's struggling right now in math. This is what we do every day. We need him here every day. And then I turned around and made a Project C closet where I bought stuff where it was Frisbees, it was school supplies, it was sheets, it was blankets, it was coats. You know, whatever their kids or their families needed was in this closet. And what I did was I assigned them Project C bucks, is what I call them, for they got X amount of bucks for showing up.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, they got X amount of bucks for certain grades. You might have gotten $8 for a A, $6 for a B,
Right.
$4 for a C, for a D or an E, D or an F, you got nothing.
Yeah.
Okay,
Makes sense.
what did it do? It taught them how to budget money, because here's what happens: those items in that closet was just like a store.
Yeah.
There were different prices.
Yeah.
Okay, so you had to save. If you wanted that coat,
Right.
that coat might have been $200 in Project C bucks.
Right.
Okay,
I'm with you on that. And I
so
think
that's practical application where they don't know
Right.
that they're understanding budgeting, but guess what? They're budgeting.
Yeah, but I think that's admirable, right? But unfortunately, you're not going to have people. You're not going to have some teachers in the Lower School District who will have that kind of rapport with kids.
And
right?
that's why they need to be out of there.
Well,
I'm going to be honest.
I can't say they should be out of there. It's not that I don't.
But why are they there? Why are they there to teach these kids? And if they want to teach these kids, you first and foremost, you got to get them to buy in.
This is what troubles me about this whole process, right? Because everybody's saying we got buy-in from everybody, right? Now, this program is only as successful as the people who are implementing it, right? Now, let's work backwards, okay? So we're putting this in the Little Rock School District with the same teachers who've been failing the kids the whole way through. Okay, so tell me what's going to be different about this program when it comes to teacher interaction? Because again,
that's a good question.
What's going to be different in that respect? Because there's nothing to explain that to us. Because everybody keeps saying, "Oh, it's going to be great. This is going to change the game." Okay, so when I think of change the game, now think about this, Dave. If JC came in and said, "Hey, Rob, Dave, y'all numbers too low. We decided to change the game." They ain't gonna change. They ain't gonna say y'all need to change the game. They gonna say, "Well, we're gonna bring in 2 other guys to see if they can change the game." Right? Now, what you're telling me now is you're about to implement a system, right? You're gonna use the same people with no additional training, no nothing. You're just gonna implement this program, and then gonna say it's gonna be successful. Well, how so? How are you gonna be successful with the same people you have in place, no additional training, right? The teachers who've been failing kids before are going to continue to fail kids. The people who are suspending kids before are going to continue to suspend kids. What are you implementing by way of the teachers or instructors that's going to change?
Well, let me give you one example that they talked about, and it was about team learning or team teaching. Okay, and what that means is that, let's say you have a difficult student. Okay. You and his other teachers team up to work with him to see, because most of the time a difficult student isn't difficult with every teacher. Now, that happens in some cases.
Right.
But most of the time, most students might have a problem with 1, maybe 2 teachers. Okay.
Well,
let me finish.
Okay.
So what they're talking about is doing team teaching, whereas you've got little Johnny in first period, I got him in second period, Brown got him in third period. Miss Black got him in fourth period. He has a problem with Miss Black in fourth period. So Miss Black should then go to his fellow teachers and say, hey, look, I know Johnny is in your class. You know, what are you doing to work with him, to get to him? You know, that's the model that they're talking about. Now, whether or not that's gonna work, I don't know. But it makes sense because it's like parents. Some kids talk to their moms better than they talk to their dads.
Right.
But and then mom and dad when the kids go to bed, mom and dad is laying in bed. Well, little Johnny said he got a baby on the way. Right. And then dad say, what? I'm gonna kill him.
Yeah.
But my point being, I'm being facetious, obviously.
No,
but my point being is that's team parenting, because one thing my kids know, that you're not gonna undermine the adults in this house.
Right.
Okay?
That's a good point.
You're not gonna pit us against one another.
So let me give you a better one. So I remember I went to school with a kid. He had a problem in one teacher's class, right? Mm-hmm. And I guess for a couple of days, he had a problem in just one teacher's class, mm-hmm. right? After about 3 days, he had a problem in two teachers' classes. Mm-hmm. By the end of the week, he was having problems with all of his classes, mm-hmm. right? Now, this is how that happened. One of the teachers said, hey, Miss So-and-so told me that he was doing X, Y, and Z in her class. So whether he did it in that other class or not, if that happened, he was accused anyway, right? Mm-hmm. So we started having all these problems because teachers get together and say, you better watch out for David Coleman. Right. David Coleman, he just disrespectful. Right. He just this, he just that, he just blah, blah, blah. Teachers paint this picture of this kid, and that kid is tagged with that. Mm-hmm. Now, it's not like they're going to each other saying, hey, so you don't have any problems with David, do you? What do you do with David?
And,
with me?
Right.
That's not happening in the district.
I agree.
Again.
And hopefully this month, and
how, Dave?
Look, Robert, I don't have all the damn answers, okay? I'm just saying.
Because you are going to be in that room, Dave.
Okay, so you could be there
I can't
too,
be in that
Robert.
room, Dave, because Dave, that is no longer my life, man. I can't be in rooms
But
like
see,
that no more.
you have to, Robert.
No, I can't.
You just can't walk away.
I have.
No.
I'm done.
Oh.
Stick a fork in the player, because I'm like
okay.
I'm like a hot
so
dog. Take me off the grill.
We might as well just end the conversation then,
Take me off the
Mr.
grill,
Capitalist.
No, I need you, Dave. You got to be in the room. You got to ask those questions. You got to do that.
But here, I'll give you an example.
But Dave, again, though.
Let me give you an example of my life.
Okay.
I hated my biology teacher. I don't know to this day why. I hated that little bald-headed white man.
Okay.
I was a damn good student. I loved school. I loved all my teachers. Okay? But I just hated that guy who was teaching me advanced biology.
Okay, that makes sense.
I had some problems with him.
That makes sense.
To the point where I was kicked out of his class. I think I was in the 10th grade. And all of my teachers said, David's never done anything like that. What's going on? There's a personality conflict.
Yes,
we were clashing. It was Miss Hemphill.
Hey, Miss Hemphill.
Who came through and said, put him in my class.
Miss Hemphill did that.
Now, Miss Hemphill didn't teach the biology that was taught in that other class. She dealt with the students that were not on my learning level. I'm trying to be kind. Okay. Miss Hemphill knew I wasn't supposed to be in that class.
Right.
She knew that. But she treated me with respect. She understood that there's a problem with this biology teacher, with these two.
You know what? You'll find that in most schools, you have black teachers that do that because they feel that they have a better connection with a student, whether he be white or black. Right. Now, the issue becomes when you have teachers who say, I'm not going to let him go. Mm-hmm. And then he ends up suspended. So, I mean, again, the things that we're talking about now, see, we're getting far deeper than just the NGL.
Right.
And those are the conversations that need to be held because of the behavior that brother displayed with you yesterday. That behavior is still consistent within those districts.
Well,
and if that behavior doesn't change, I don't give a damn how many programs you put in place. It's not going to change the outcome for kids.
Well, and I'm hoping, and of course, they've had teacher meetings, so I don't know what they're talking about.
But that needs to be known.
But that was the point that I was making about you saying I got mine, you got to get yours.
Right.
You know, there are certainly underlying points that can come under what I said, and I was being kind. But what teachers have got to understand that all of us learn differently. Okay, one size does not fit all, and that's what has occurred not just here in Little Rock, but in the school systems across this country, whether they're public, private, or parochial. One size fits all, and if you want to reach these kids, and I keep using Dale as an example, and I brought that up as well. See, Dale was interesting about when we have particularly when we were in sales, we'd have our set of contacts. Mm-hmm. We had our patch, as we called it.
Right.
Okay, that was my patch. If my manager needed to know something about a company in my patch, he came to me.
Right.
It was my job to know about what XYZ company is doing, what type of infrastructure that they have, when was the last time they made purchases with Dell, well, have they purchased servers, when was the last time they purchased storage. That was my job to know that.
Right.
Okay? I became acutely aware to the point where I even knew some of my clients, how many kids you have. You know, what are you doing on vacation? You had those conversations. Okay?
You got to know yourself.
I agree. But here's what Dell would do. Every 6 months, your patch would change.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's good.
And their whole and it would upset customers. It upset some customers to the point where they would stop buying from Dell. Then you would have to explain to them, well, look, here's Dell's policy, is that Dell wants to make sure that you are getting everything you need to run your company efficiently. And that does not mean that the previous sales guy or woman that you had on that was selling to you, your account executive, that doesn't mean that they weren't doing a good job. It simply means that they may have missed something. Okay? That's important to understand. So Dell's concept was having fresh eyes on a particular account. What teachers and I brought this up in the meeting yesterday, is that it is important that you have fresh eyes on these students. Whereas that you don't necessarily recognize their faults. Because sometimes you got to be able to look at their faults and understand how you can build on those faults. The other thing that didn't come out yesterday that I hope at some point will, because I was going to bring up Grahamwood Elementary in Memphis. We've talked about that school here on the show. I don't know if you were here, but Grahamwood Elementary was one of the lowest performing schools in the Shelby County, in Shelby County. It's in North Nashville, It's in North Memphis, in Fraser. Predominantly black. North Memphis is one of the poorest areas in Memphis. Kids were underperforming. It took a black principal to come from a performing white school to improve that school. Now, here's what he did. Not only did he come, he reached out to other teachers and asked them to come with him to Grahamwood Elementary and said, hey, our goal is to increase performance here. So when they got there, what they realized is that they still were not increasing performance. Right. So they began to look beyond the school walls. And he brought up the fact of one young lady who was late to school every day. And because she was late, based on the district policy, she was going to detention for being late so much.
Okay.
He decided to ask the question, why are you so late?
Right.
Why are you late every day? He finds out that they live with a single mother. She has 2 other siblings. And it is her responsibility to get those siblings on the bus so they can go to school. Whereas as she was in walking distance, her siblings had to catch the bus.
Right.
Her mom leaves early in the morning to go to work. So it was her responsibility to make sure that those girls, her 2 siblings, got on the bus on time, and then she would come to school after the fact. She was being suspended prior to that because no one had even bothered to look and ask the question, why are you late?
Right. Nobody cared.
Nobody cared.
Right.
Okay? So when that principal realized what was going on, they worked out a way that that young lady was getting to school on time, her siblings were getting to school on time, and guess what happened miraculously?
What's that?
Her test scores improved. Hello?
It makes sense.
Okay? Now, one other story about this. A young man wasn't even coming to school. When they found out why he wasn't coming to school, you know what it was? His mama told him that she wasn't going to give him money to wash his clothes, his school clothes. So he wouldn't come to school because he had dirty clothes. A school uniform that was tattered and dirty. Mm-hmm. What did the school do? They installed a washer and dryer in the school where kids could come in and wash their clothes. Mm-hmm. Guess what happened? His test scores improved because he was at school every day. Part of being successful in class is being there.
Yeah.
Okay?
I don't doubt that.
See, so it's stupid for you to suspend a kid from class because he's not going to be successful at home. So the whole point, and I didn't get a chance to bring up Grahamwood Elementary, but that's what's going to be brought up in the future because in today's society, you've got to look beyond your walls and say, what can I do? Now, I know you didn't go to school. I know you didn't get that degree for social work. But at the end of the day, being a teacher, you're a social worker. Okay? And you've got to understand that. And if you really want these kids, see, it's really about being concerned about a person. You see what I'm saying? It's being concerned about a person, not a black kid from a poor neighborhood, but being concerned about a person. And if you're concerned about a person, then you got to understand that these kids come to school with so much baggage. They come to school with so much that you've got to be willing to drop your pretenses, drop your Ivy League attitude, drop your bourgeoisie bitching and say, hey, look, my job is to save these kids. And I'm willing to do anything within my power to save these kids.
You think that's how they feel?
I don't know. But that's what you got to do if this is going to work.
You are making some very salient points.
Thank you, Mr. Webb.
The problem is, I go back and say again, Dave, you're talking about the experiences you've experienced in other places. Let's come back to reality. Let's come back to Little Rock.
Oh, I wanna.
I know, but we got to. How does this translate? I mean, the program is great. I honestly think the program.
I think the program is really good.
Right? I think it's.
I gotta give it. It's a good program.
I think it's good. Now I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna say that because I think that.
So you coming to the next meeting?
No, I think that needs to be said. I think
Robert,
the program itself is incredible. Right? I think the program itself is incredible. I think the program itself could do a lot of good. However, there are several things that still trouble me about the program because this is what always troubles me. Whenever the school district is not successful, who do they blame? The kids. Every time something doesn't work in the Little Rock School District, it's the kids' fault. Yeah, these kids, they are kids. My mic went out. They're kids. How can you say that a kid is not successful? It's their fault that they're not successful. A kid? Really?
Well,
hold on, Dave.
This program is not
Dave.
doing.
Hold on, Dave. Dave, but you're in Little Rock, Dave. And let me tell you the one thing.
Why are you being a negative Ned
it's
today?
not being negative Ned. This is the thing.
You don't like black kids, do you?
I love black kids. Quite often, you trying to do me. Quite often, we never completely vet a situation before we implement. And people say, well, it's because we need to get this thing done. No. Who gets hurt because we don't vet these things? Black kids. Black kids always end up hurt because we don't properly vet these things. Now, on the front end, if the teachers have no buy-in and they're not supporting this the way they should, it's still a problem. We still are back in the same place we were before.
I agree, and I think before we went to that meeting at AEA, they had already, what we didn't know, they had already been to Nashville.
Yeah, everybody had been.
A whole rook of teachers
yeah,
and
everybody
administrators.
had already been. But again,
so I think
you are not taking you are not explaining to parents why their kids are going to be successful by way of having this implemented, right? And for me alone, that troubles me because I need as a parent, I
hear
what the
you.
hell you get ready to do with my kid.
Well, I understand you, but before you can do that, now this is just my opinion, I got to get the people that's going to be implementing the program to buy into this.
No,
Okay.
I dig that.
And that's what they're trying to do.
I don't disagree.
So how do you get them to buy in? Here's what you do: you get them to buy in by getting them to participate in building the modules. I understand exactly what they're doing.
No, I get that
Okay.
too. But again, this is what's problematic.
Mm-hmm.
So yesterday you said that they had administrators, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many actual teachers did they have in that
There
room?
were quite a few.
Okay. I'm always troubled.
Good-looking teachers.
I hear you. I'm always troubled
Haley?
by the process that we put in place to make things happen. I'm always troubled by the process.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean I'm troubled by the process is that we have conversations about
Which reminds me, it's amazing that they were there because I guess they got an exemption from school yesterday, but there were quite a few in there.
yeah, we have conversations about all that stuff that's going on, but we are not.
We got to go talk.
We gotta take. Okay, let's go. We'll come back.
We'll save that for the top of the hour because we'll continue this conversation. Hey, we got to take the top of the hour.
By the way, I'm not being hard on kids. I'm just saying that every time we look up when something doesn't work, it's usually the kids who are blamed. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Don't be tuning in at the last minute and think I'm talking about kids. Don't be tuning in last minute trying to talk trash to me. Get your stuff together now.
Yeah, that's Robert Webb in a pink shirt.
Yeah.
The man can wear a pink shirt, he jack you up.
Like you say, like the man said, you better come for, if you gonna come for me, you better come for me.
Hey, we're taking the break. We'll be back in a moment. You listen to Black Focus Radio, our issues, our solutions, our voices on joinnetradio.com.
Jackson, you gotta look outside of the circle when you're a teacher. From the sounds of the program, it's gonna be good.
You say what?
From the sound of the program, it's gonna be good. Jackson said from the sound of the program, it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
It ain't gonna be bad, Jack. It's a double-edged sword. That's what I'm talking about all the time. It's a double-edged sword always. That was a good project. Jackie said being a teacher is expensive because you spend a lot of your money
Yeah.
to supply those kids' needs. I did it all the time when I was teaching.
Yeah. You
Good
do.
job, Jackie. A lot of teachers are just there to get a check. That's what's up, Jackie. That's all they don't care. 7 Hills. That's better. Bar blocking out. The fan blocking their view. Okay, we good now.
Yeah, I already.
So you already got all
I
that.
already
Dave.
fixed all that,
I
man.
thought you was already. Dave,
I'm kind of looking at it over here on my, this thing called a computer right here.
Yeah, smart ass. I got
All
you.
that over there. But no, man, it's
Dave, I ain't in the picture no more, man. Why you taking me out the picture, bro? Yeah, nah, I got it.
did you moved it?
Yeah, I moved it. Is that it?
Yeah, that's cool.
Is that it? Am I in? Kinda? Alright, cool. Just long as
Yeah.
halfway in. So people don't be talking crazy too.
But no, it's like I said, man, it's baked in. It's gonna happen. It's not gonna change. Ain't nothing you can do about it at this point except get on board. Try to work inside the process to make sure something is relevant to our children.
That's it.
You got to work.
Like I said, you gotta do something with these teachers, man. You got to.
Because I'd love to. They need to teach. They need to go back to teaching history.
Ain't gonna happen, bro.
But you know why they don't teach history, right?
Wow.
There's I want to say he's in Missouri, who said that he don't believe history needs to be taught anymore. What is their history? They have no history. And now that everything is coming out, it's pretty clear that they have no. They lied about all of it, unfortunately. So.
I don't know, man. I just see this being real scary.
If you want to get to black kids, you got to give them some worth. How do you give somebody self-worth? That you tell them that their ancestors were not slaves, their ancestors were king and queens who birthed the world.
Yeah,
You want to give them some worth, that's how you do it. Part of the reason black kids don't do some of the things that they do, they grow up with no worth. Well, you came from slaves.
Well, no value.
No value. You know, and you know, I keep thinking about Josh Jacobs. You know, a lot of it, you know, it's just amazing when you think about what motivates people. He's the starting running back for the Oakland Raiders. I was listening to Dan Patrick this morning. I had no idea that he and his 5 siblings was raised by his father and literally lived in a SUV all of his life until he went to college. And the first 3 weeks in college, he said they lived in and out of hotels, motels, and quite often he had to sleep on the floor. So for the first 3 to 4 weeks in college, he slept on the floor. He didn't even sleep in his bed. You would tend to believe that would have broken, and it would have broken a lot of young people. But look at him now.
But he had his father.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
Like he was doing it by himself,
exactly.
You know what I mean?
But he told the story about how they would sleep in the SUV, and his father literally slept with a pistol in his lap to protect them. So if anyone came up to the car, it's a wonderful story. It really is. Welcome back to the show, Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. You know, we were talking about, you know, those of you who listened yesterday, those of you who listen every day, I kind of figured that Jackie and LaTanya would get it, hey, that's a recording because you all listen literally every day.
All our regulars text me going, where y'all at?
Yeah, but a lot of people were wondering, you know, well, a lot of people thought it was regular broadcast.
Yeah,
okay?
A lot of it.
Because it was the broadcast I talked about on 9/11. And it was fine. But anyway. But we were talking about the Ford NGL program that's imminent here in the Little Rock School District. Look, if you hear about this program, what I would advise you guys to do is, now that we're talking about it, if you want to get involved in this process, pick up the phone and call the Chamber of Commerce or call the school board. The Little Rock School District. Or any school district. Any school district in Pulaski County. Because this is coming to all 4 districts. Okay? And just a side note to me, this might be a precursor to consolidation. But
charter schools throughout.
Well, the consolidations. Because see, here's my thing. And this is a side note. Little Rock and North Little Rock should have been one city years ago.
One city, do you mean one district?
One city.
One city, okay.
Okay.
Why we want to be with Dogtown?
Well, I'm just saying, even before we came about,
right.
If you would have been forward thinking, Little Rock and North Little Rock should have been one city.
Yeah.
Okay.
I get that.
You understand what I'm saying? Right. I'm just saying from traveling, from seeing other metropolitan areas, right. Little Rock and North Little Rock should have been one city.
I get that.
Okay. You should not have 2 forms of government that's literally 2 miles away from each other. It makes no sense to me.
Right.
But I'm thinking that this might be a beginning of consolidation. Because the first thing you do when you want to consolidate is you get the schools. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the first thing you do.
Yeah.
You get people used to that live in Little Rock. Because you said Dogtown. When we were growing up, you didn't go to North Little Rock. No. You didn't date women in North Little Rock. Right. I'm serious. Yeah. At least we didn't. Yeah. You know, Dogtown was a different animal. Altogether. The only thing I did in North Little Rock growing up was going to Burns Park and McCain Mall. That's it.
We didn't even go to McCain Mall.
You know,
Park,
you know, and then when I got older, when I started buying my clothes, I didn't go to McCain Mall. Guess where I went? Right. Downtown on Main to where? Mac Walker.
Mac Walker, baby.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. You know, the only time I went to McCain Mall was my mom, who needed to go over there because she loved Dillard's and J.C. Penney's and all that other stuff. Right. But no, when I got old enough and started working and buying my own clothes, hey, if you grew up in Little Rock and you were you had any type of soul in you, you better have something on that was from Mac Walker.
Always.
You know what I'm saying?
Better be from Mac Walker.
Yeah, so yeah. But it should have been, and I digress, but this city should have been one city years ago. And I just think that they're not saying it. No one has intimated it whatsoever.
I don't think it'll happen. And the reason I don't think
I'm just thinking it's headed in that direction.
I think you will have a consolidated district. I really believe that. I don't believe, however, that you could have joined Little Rock and North Little Rock. Let me tell you why. North Little Rock, fortunately, has always been forward thinking. North Little Rock went out on its own and created its own utility, right? That utility alone generates the kind of revenue that gives them the opportunity to do some things that Little Rock would never be able to do, right? Little Rock could have created its own utility, just like North Little Rock did, but they didn't. There are a lot of really great things that North Little Rock has implemented that Little Rock has not, and I believe that's again because of the visioning and the visioning of the people that you elect to represent you.
I agree.
Right. So if you look at North Little Rock has North Little Rock utilities. So pretty much all your utilities, even though you're going to get it from Centerpoint, even though you're going to get it from whoever else, you got to go through the city of North Little Rock to have it all implemented.
Yeah, but that's now. But I'm just saying.
That's been that way.
Well, I know. I'm just saying, had they been forward thinking decades ago, before we even came around, they should have said, hey, this whole Pulaski County, all of this is Little Rock. And let the outgrowth take place there.
Well, everybody wanted to have their own fiefdoms, right?
I know.
So Little Rock wanted to have their piece. North Little Rock wanted to have their piece. Sherwood wanted to have its piece. Jacksonville wanted to have its piece. Everybody wanted to have.
And that's to the detriment of this area, believe it or not.
You know
it
what?
really is.
Honestly, I believe that competition is. I believe competition is really good.
Yeah, but if competition is
and
good,
if it's not forced competition, but collaborative competition, right?
Right.
Where you have people coming together at some points to work together, kind of like what we have now with the school districts. My thing is that you can't. I always, just as an advocate, I always had to understand the why, right? I always had to understand the why, because if I understand the why, then I can train myself to identify issues that need to be addressed because I understand the why. You with me? Well, with this NGL, I've yet to be told the why. Even though people say the why is this or the why is that, don't tell me because the school district's not successful.
Well, here is one thing that came out yesterday that maybe they're getting it. I don't know that to be the case.
Okay.
But if you're gonna draw, and I hate to keep bringing up Nashville, but when I first moved to Nashville, Nashville reminded me so much of Little Rock, and I think that's why I stayed as long as I did.
Okay.
Because of the terrain, the people,
The mindset.
The mindset was a little bit further advanced, and a lot of that had to do with because they have Tennessee State, they have Fisk, they have Meharry, those three prominent black colleges there. So that mindset it was nowhere near the mindset of Little Rock. Okay, because you had progressive people, you had parents that lived in other parts of the country, sending their children back to those universities because they went to those universities.
Right.
So you had a different mindset. It just hadn't been kicked. It had started rolling the way Nashville wanted it to.
Right.
So I think for a long time they were similar, but the difference is they began to realize that we can be better than what we are.
Yeah.
Little Rock and this area has not realized that yet.
I don't disagree with
and
that.
They are, you talk about fiefdoms, they're still fighting those old battles that need to be put aside.
I agree.
And if this city is going to thrive the way it needs to be, then, the classic example of people still after they're after Frank and they're after this police chief. It comes out the other day that someone claimed that the police chief was in North Little Rock using his sirens.
You know what, man? I meant to bring that up, man.
To,
let's call Chief. Let's see if Chief can talk to us right quick.
Using his sirens to avoid traffic.
And you know what's funny?
Which is stupid.
But let me tell you.
And you know what? What if he was?
Let me tell you what I heard, though. I heard that the chief actually had a conversation with them. He said, hey, the story you put up, none of it's true.
Right.
And they was like, oh, no, the white dude said it's true. What you say don't matter.
Right. And I'm getting ready to read his letter.
Yeah, let's see.
I'm getting ready to read his letter.
Let's see if we can.
Because, see, that kind of stuff like that is clearly trying to undermine. So you would take the word of a white guy in a car as opposed to the chief of police.
Yeah.
So let me just read his response to Fox 16 and KARK. Now, again, I know Fox 16 is owned by Fox. No, it's Channel 7 that's owned by Sinclair Broadcasting. Okay, so here's a statement from Chief Humphreys. Greetings. I wanted to take a moment for you to hear from me in regards to accusations made against me by a local media reporter from KARK and Fox 16. It was alleged that I used lights and sirens in my city-issued vehicle to bypass traffic while attending an event last week in North Little Rock. These accusations made against me are completely false and totally inaccurate. These false accusations made in the media are not only an attack on me, but every man and woman who wears a Little Rock police uniform. The story only hurts the mission of the Little Rock Police Department and affects the relationship between our department and the public. My office was not afforded ample amount of time to address these allegations, and our department was not given the opportunity to review the video KARK Fox 16 was planning to air. If afforded the chance, we could have dispelled rumors before the story was aired. I could have informed the station and the public this was not the route I took to the arena. I was invited by the Secret Service to attend this event. By the way, that event was the Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg event. Just before entering a secured barricaded area, I activated my blue lights so a North Little Rock police officer was aware a fellow officer in a dark vehicle with tinted windows was approaching the barricaded area. This was for safety purposes and out of respect for the officer working the barricade. While working with officers assigned to this event, they directed me to an assigned area. The reports of using my lights and sirens to drive through intersections in the city of North Little Rock are completely false. Our agency has always worked diligently with local news reporters, and I expect my department will continue to do the same. We have requested a full retraction and apology for this mistake. I have always stressed the importance of transparency at LRPD. Let me make it clear, if I had violated these policies, I would be the first to admit so, because I hold myself to the highest standards like I do every officer. This is why I feel it is important to address this news story. While modeling 21st century policing, we hope to continue to build trust and legitimacy within our community. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to provide you with the accurate information and with the opportunity to serve as police chief. Together, we will make Little Rock safer city, Respectfully, Chief Humphreys. So, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I think he's a real brother, okay? Until I'm proven otherwise, I support Chief Humphrey. Okay,
I support him.
That doesn't mean
I think this is crazy.
That doesn't mean I support everything he does.
Oh, we're gonna disagree.
Or the police department. Certainly, I don't support the police department. But I think this was a non-story from a media standpoint. If I'm the editor,
but you gotta go.
Well, let me finish this because I think this is important. If I'm the editor, the news editor,
right,
I look at this and I say, that's a non-story. Because at the end of the day, police do this all the time. And then we don't ever know why that police is flipping on his blue lights. Okay? Mm-hmm. So this is a non-story. And the reason I'm saying this is because there was a similar story about this in Nashville years ago. Mm-hmm. The media didn't even run with the story. Because here's what it does from a Fox 16 standpoint. It further exacerbates the divide between police and citizens in this city. And I think Fox 16 is at fault here. You understand what I'm saying?
I think Fox 16 is a very racist organization.
That's my point.
And the reason I say that is because supposedly, I don't know this to be true, but supposedly Chief Humphrey told them, hey, all your facts are wrong on this. I wouldn't run that story. Mm-hmm. And they said, well, no, the white dude told us that all our facts are right, and we're going to run it anyway. And when you went back and looked at all the facts, they were wrong on every level,
right.
But yet they still reported the story. I think that goes to credibility.
I agree.
They don't have very strong. They shouldn't have credibility in the city, and black folk especially should not look to them to be some kind of leader in the community.
Exactly.
If I ever see them out somewhere, I'm gonna say, I'm gonna give them the whole finger.
Well, because it says Fox.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, look, I can't watch. I have problems watching TV shows on Fox, even though they're fiction. I still can't watch them because guess what? It's Fox.
Yeah, I get that.
You see?
I get that, but what bothers me more about this is here you are, you have a chief. I mean, we are so used to this though. And let me even more. You think if I got some damn lights and I can run a light, you think I'm not gonna do it? Man, let me get in the Chief, let me borrow your truck for a day. If Chief let me borrow your truck for a day, they probably fire him because I'm running every light I can get. Mm-hmm. You with me? Why am I gonna sit at a light when I ain't got to? That's now these guys exercise great discipline because, brother, if I could speed with no consequences, if I could run lights with no consequences, shit, there would be no light that could hold me.
I see it happening all the time.
I don't knock it down.
And I ain't mad about that.
I ain't mad.
I get mad when you go in the donut shop and you get the last donut curl and you get them free, and I gotta wait 15 minutes. Now that's a different story. But just sitting at a light. Look, again, I don't know if he's got the call.
I might get mad at you because you got to go through the light and I got to sit there and wait.
Right.
But, dude, I'm not hating, though.
That don't bother me one bit.
Again, man, this is very common that whenever you get a black man in a position of power, you always have people who come after. People say, well, you know what, Robert? Right. Y'all go after white people in power. Yeah, but you know what? The things that I went after Stoller for, I felt those things were legitimate. Now, there was some stuff I could have went after him for that I did not. I'll give you a great example of one of those things. When he left, he got a payday.
He sure did.
I didn't have an issue. I didn't have an issue with that, right?
But you should have.
I should have. Mm-hmm. I should have had a huge
that's
issue. That's
because y'all buddies and y'all play golf together.
No, we're cool. But that's not why though.
That's money you can win from him in golf.
That's not why though. Okay. That's not why.
So you're saying that you do beat him in golf?
The reason why I'm not saying anything. The reason why
you do play with him.
We've never played golf, Dave. Never ever played golf, Dave.
I'm just trying to get a clarification for the listeners.
The reason I never thought that was an issue because some things I think are very petty, right? And the one thing I hate most about politics is that people always try to find the pettiest things to go after folks for, right? I believe that people who are in politics, nobody in politics is perfect. There's everybody. I don't care what anybody says. You go looking hard enough, everybody got skeletons. So we shouldn't be digging trying to find stuff about people. I don't even like that brand of politics. I want to know what your issues are, right? Now, Chief seems to be legit. He seems to be legit. I like that about him. Right. Frank seems to be legit. I like that about him. The one thing that we noticed, though, is that you hardly ever have anybody go after other cats, right? You have cats who come in the city all the time, and nobody goes after them. Nobody, near goes after them the way they go after Chief, or the way they're going after Frank, and that disappoints me.
And I think a lot of it has to do with fiefdoms in this city, whereas we know for a fact that a lot of these people did not. They had people penciled in as far as who's going to be that next police chief.
Yeah,
that's not just the FOP. That's a lot of people out in the city and business owners.
Let me tell you
they had folks penciled in that was going to be that chief.
Let me tell you what's crazy, Dave. If somebody came out and said something about you, Dave, you know what I say? I get on the show and say, "Hey, listen, Dave, my boy. I know Dave. The Dave I know would not do this. I don't believe the Dave I know would do this. Dave has my undivided support. You never had the FOP or the BPOA come out and support Chief. Mm-hmm. That bothers me. You never had officers saying, "Hey, that's our chief wouldn't do that."
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm. That bothers me. When is the police department ever united around you unite around a murderer?
Yeah.
But you won't unite around your chief. That's problematic.
And that goes back to what I was just saying, is that people had, look, what did he say when he was here last week? Is that, look, he didn't say this verbatim, but he basically went in cutting throats. Saying, hey, it ain't going to be this way anymore. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And those people had their own little supervisors penciled in. I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna get that. Hey, when I get that position, you coming with me? No, right. He stopped all that.
I ain't having that.
So
right.
And remember, before he was hired, what did I say? I said we need a different police chief that is outside of Little Rock, because Little Rock, what has been going on in Little Rock is so profound that it is embedded. And we've seen that. So they're upset because that's exactly what he did. That's exactly what Frank Scott is doing. That's why all these people are running interference with him. That's why they're trying to dig up all this information on him. Now look, I'm not saying he's perfect. I'm not saying this chief is perfect. But if we're going to change the attitude in this city, then there has to be a new day. You know, it goes back to we have to put fresh eyes on this situation. Boom. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And Frank Scott and this police chief are fresh eyes. Now look, there are going to be plenty of opportunities for them to screw this up. Okay? But right now, when they they hadn't been in office a year. Okay? Let's give them a chance, and we need to pull behind them because y'all know the powers that be don't want them in those offices simply because of the melanin. Let's be real here. Okay? So it just amazes me when you go back to it is that if we're going to get this thing right, then black people in the city have got to get it right. We got to do it.
But do you think we will get it right?
I don't know.
I mean,
I would hope that we would.
I think we got a good chief, man.
I'm concerned.
I think we have a good chief. I think we have a good mayor, and I think they're going to do some really good things in our city. The question is, will they be allowed to?
Well, and that's the key. And that's where the people have got to get out and show these. Look, here's the thing. The one thing that they understand more than anything else is people. And until people get out en masse and say, hey, look, I support this mayor, I support this police chief. Again, if I say I support the police chief, that doesn't mean that I'm a police lover. That doesn't, but I support this chief to clean up. I know this police department has problems. Mm-hmm. It needs to be cleaned up. There are a lot of people that have been on that staff needs to be ran out the door. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be honest with you, that's okay? Right. Yeah. I support what he's trying to do.
No, I totally agree.
Look, you can get mad at me all you want. I support what he's trying to do. I support what this mayor's trying to do. That doesn't mean that I'm going to believe in everything. And he knows. He knows, Al. Of course he does, Robert. You look, see, here we go. Okay, we changed the subject. Let's talk about Sherry's section. But I'm just saying, I support both of them. I believe in giving them a chance to clean this mess up. This mess didn't get this way overnight. And don't expect a police chief or a new mayor to come in and clean it up in less than 6 months. It's just not going to happen. What they've got to do is get the ball rolling, get people behind them that when their successor comes in, that he will understand that, hey, this is how we doing it now.
Right.
Okay?
Well, that ain't gonna happen, but yeah, I understand the sentiment. For me, I just want a great city, and I believe we can have a great city if we have people working together and we understand that a high tide lifts all boats. Man.
Yep.
A high tide lifts all boats.
Right.
So, for me, again. We really need forward thinking in Little Rock. I mean, I want to see Little Rock we are not a mecca of anything.
And that's why this NGL thing, to me, it's forward thinking.
It is somewhat forward thinking.
Now, the application, we do need to be aware of how it's going to be applied. But it's definitely forward thinking. When you can take a kid and say, hey, look, that kid says, hey, I want to be a chef. Mm-hmm. And when that kid can partner with a restaurant to be able to go in and see what it takes, or not just a chef but an engineer. I think we've never done anything like that.
Yeah, Dave, I like the program, and I love to see your enthusiasm toward the program. I have always been somewhat of a obstructionist for the simple reason. And there's a reason for me being an obstructionist. It's because I believe that you have to have free thought in processes like this, right? Mm. And that free thought looks totally different on so many different levels. So when you go into anything, there is some information you need to have beforehand, and you also need an extra strategy in case it doesn't work, right? Well, what's always what's always concerning to me is that you don't have anything on the front end. There's no research done on the front end. There's no research done on the back end. and we're just saying it's going to work. And the thing, I mean, and as I think about this, I mean, things constantly creep up in my head. So let's say that they put one thing in one school, but a kid in Jacksonville wants to be in this one thing. He doesn't have transportation to get from Jacksonville to Southwest Little Rock. So it's just.
But that's like that now, though, Robert.
What's that?
There are. I'll give you an example. Let me use Little Rock Central as an example. Part of the reason that Little Rock Central is suffering athletically, you know where most of the kids go to play football? That's from Little Rock.
Where?
North Little Rock.
Dave, I don't think that's the reason. I don't think that's the reason.
Here's my
point.
Okay. Here's my point. Those kids, and I know a lady whose son lives in North Little Rock. Her son goes to Bryant. What I'm saying is that they've already set it up, whereas that if a certain school doesn't offer a class that your child wants to take, then that child can go to that school. You just have to get them there. You see what I'm saying?
And
so that's already that.
And nine times out, what do you mean?
It's already that way where if a school offers a class that your kid doesn't take, then it's your responsibility to get them there. You know, here's what I'm concerned about the NGL. Let's say, for instance, that you put 4 modules in ABC school, right? Those 4 modules aren't working. How do you change out those modules for different modules that will work? And what they're saying is that part of the community, those schools will invite the community in to see what works. You know.
Okay, hold on. Because I want to make sure I debunk this page is moved. So now they done moved the page that shows the zoning map. But let me tell you what irritates the hell out of me right now. So if you live in the central neighborhood, back in the day, Dave, we lived in the central neighborhood. We walked to Central. Right? Mm-hmm. Everybody clear over to, I want to say clear over to Fair Park. Mm-hmm. Maybe even further, maybe the university, right? Maybe university was a cutoff. If you live if you live University East, automatically you in Central. Mm-hmm. West, you went to Hall, right? Well, now if you live 4 blocks from Central, you still go to Hall. Mm-hmm. Now, Dave, that's why you don't have the players, because you are not even put in that district. All the kids who can go to Hall, all the kids who can go to Central are in West Little Rock. Everybody wants to make the thing about, well, it's because they have terrible facilities, and that bothers me, and blah 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 blah. No, Dave, look at the zoning map.
I'm not saying the zoning map isn't a problem.
No, the zoning map is definitely a problem.
But I'm saying from experience and kids and parents that have, I'll give you an example.
Don't give me an example.
Let me give you an example of a parent.
Before you do that,
here's a parent who played professional sports. I'm not going to call his name.
Okay.
Whose son played for Central freshman, sophomore, and junior year.
Okay.
He then moved his kid for his senior year, which is this year, to a Pulaski County school that just got brand new facilities. Mm-hmm. Now, this particular former NFL player, his number one concern, now he graduated from Central. Mm-hmm. His number one concern, and he told me specifically, he said, hey, look, man, I'd love for my son to go to Central, but when you look at that weight room, when you look at some of the facilities, it's dangerous down.
You're talking about one kid, Dave.
I'm saying this particular, but there have been multiple ones.
One kid.
I'm just saying from an athletic standpoint. Part of the reason that we're trying to raise money for Central is to build an athletic facility that will compete. Look at all the schools around
Wait a
Central.
second, Dave.
Hang on, let me finish my point.
Dave.
Look at all these schools. Look at Little Rock Mills. Look at the new school that they just built in Southwest Little Rock. Look at Bryant. Look at Benton. Look at North Little Rock. Look at the brand new school in Jacksonville. All of these schools in this area have updated facilities. Now, whether we agree with it or not, back then we went where we wanted. We played for who we had to. But if I would have had a choice to go to a school that has an air-conditioned weight room, that has multiple uniforms, that has all of these different amenities that these kids get today, as opposed to the school with tradition, me from just a selfish point of view as a athlete, I'm going to the school that's going to provide me the most.
Really, Dave?
That's what these athletes do.
Really, Dave?
That's what they do now.
Really, Dave?
I'm just being real
Dave,
with you, bro.
I just want you to talk about you right now.
Okay.
When you was growing up, Dave, you saw these dudes coming down the street. You knew who they played for, right? Mm-hmm. You knew what high school they went to. Mm-hmm. Now you telling me now, Dave, that even though some of the guys you looked up to went to Central, you would have went to Hall?
But see,
hold on, Dave. Nah. This is a yes or no play.
Okay. Hindsight.
No, that's not hindsight. The question is, Dave.
What I know about...
don't even... No. Answer my question, brother. Seeing the guys that you looked up to in the neighborhood, knowing they went to Central, would you have went to Hall? No, just say yes or no.
Can I explain?
No, you can't explain nothing.
Can I explain why I wanted to go to Central?
Long-winded. Just yes or no. No.
No, you didn't call me long-winded.
Yes, I did. Yes or no, Dave. Just say yes or no.
Knowing what I know.
No, Dave. Yes or no. That's all I need to say. Yes or no.
Okay, if I was...
No, Dave. Look at the guys that you looked up to.
What was your question?
The guys you looked up to, you saw them coming down the street.
But you know what?
Hold on, Dave. No. The guys that you know went to Central. And you saw them coming over football practice.
But I'm trying to say, your question has a fallacy. That's what I'm trying to get you to understand.
Okay, what's the fallacy?
Because what baked me into wanting to go to Central was my brother's senior year at Hall. My eldest brother went to Little Rock Hall.
Okay.
He was one of the first black kids to integrate Hall.
Okay.
He graduated in 1967.
Okay.
All right. My first experience at Little Rock Central was Turkey Day.
Okay, I got you.
Okay. I was 7 years old.
Okay.
He took me to the Turkey Day football game. And I just remember liking the colors of Little Rock Central. And I told him then that one day I'm going to play on this field.
Okay. I got you.
Okay. And that's I'm being honest with you.
I got you.
So that's what colored me about going to Central.
Okay. All right.
Because actually, see, we grew up on Barrow.
That's a valid point. Okay, so you would have went to Parkview.
I would have ended up going to Parkview.
But hold on.
Early on in my life, had we stayed there.
Hold on, Dave.
And then we moved over on Sugar.
Okay, so check this out, Dave. We both know that Central had its challenges, but Central also has some really great things to offer.
No doubt about it,
right?
And still do.
And if we were to go back and we're kids all over again, without a doubt, we pick.
I'm still going to
all
Central
over again, right?
Yeah.
That's true, right? What I have an issue with now is that now we're saying, back in the day, you had Central got the kids from Southwest,
right?
Dunbar, Forest Heights, Pulaski Heights. It's a school I'm missing. It was 6 schools. It's a school I'm missing.
Now Horace Mann went to Parkview.
Horace Mann went to Parkview.
And some of Pulaski Heights went to Hall.
Yeah, they split, but the majority of them went to Central.
That's it, I think, because Booker went to Hall too.
Henderson, and they got some kids from Henderson because
I
went to Henderson.
I thought some of the Henderson kids, some of the kids went to Parkview that went to Henderson.
Yeah, but it depends on where you stayed. You went to Parkview, right? So you got to remember, if you stayed, Roosevelt was the cutoff. I think Roosevelt was the cutoff for Parkview. So Roosevelt was the cutoff for Parkview. Everything south of Roosevelt was Parkview. Everything north of Roosevelt, you went to Central, right? You went to Central, and I think I want to say
everything. The cutoff was High Street.
For Central.
The cutoff was High Street. Here's why I know. A friend of mine, all of us went to Central. They lived on 16th and Pulaski. Pulaski is one block one block east of High Street. They redistricted and made High Street the cutoff, whereas that he had his older brother graduated from Central, but the year he was getting ready to go to Central, he ended up going to Hall because they changed the lines.
Okay.
So High Street to Roosevelt, and I want to say, because there were people that went to Hall that lived down on 26th and Chester. All of that was Hall area too. Okay? So, but the point I'm trying to make about the kids today, they don't really care about tradition. The University of Oregon proved that. When we grew up, the University of Oregon didn't win jack.
Yeah, but
terrible.
it wasn't the University of Oregon approved it. This is
What?
the University of Oregon had to come up with a creative way to get people to come to their university.
Right, and what did they do?
That was one of the ways.
The obviously Nike invested a lot of money, but
Exactly.
then
But Dave, you can't keep saying that the reason kids won't go to Central is because of the facility, right?
it has something to do with
I
it.
went to Texas Southern. I had talked to some people at different colleges, and honestly, the grand scheme of things, Texas Southern was the least of mine. Texas Southern, in the grand scheme of things, should have been the last college I went to, right? However, I went to Texas Southern over some of these other colleges had better facilities. The reason I went to Texas Southern had nothing to do with facilities. It was all about the sisters, right? So that's why I ended up at Texas Southern. My point to you is that kids go to schools for different reasons, right?
Right.
And most kids want to go to a school because, somebody in their family played at Central. Somebody in their family often gets together. I'm going to tell you, when I was a kid, my uncles would, every time one of my uncles from California would come home, we would always get outside my grandmother's house and sit under the tree, and they would talk about the glory days, or what happened back in the day. And hearing those conversations, right, that made me want to do certain things. You with me? Because hearing my uncles talking about how much fun they had. I really never liked track. But my uncles ran track, so I ran track. I didn't really like baseball, but my uncles talked about how they played baseball, so I played baseball. You with me? It's things like that, Dave. It's that kind of history that we transfer to kids that makes them want to go places, right? Now, we can sit here all day and talk about it's all about the facilities. I don't think it's that. When I used to go to those Turkey Day games, the only thing I could think about was being a Tiger. But then the older I got, then I met Coach Elders, and Coach Elders told me about my dad. Your dad played for me. And when he told me my dad played for me, I was like, oh, Coach Elders, I want to go to Hall, right? But again, until then, all I had on my mind was Central.
But see, Robert, what you're thinking about is from what old people like you need to be aware of, that those
Old people like me, yeah, I picked them up.
why do we gonna get that? That the traditions that drove us,
they're not in place anymore.
they're not in place anymore.
I wish we could get them back there.
Right.
Come on, man. You have a
agree.
conversation with those folks. Talk to me
Right.
about the importance
Which reminds
of some
me,
of those things.
Tuesday night on Channel 11, you're going to see part of an interview with me and about Little Rock Central at 10 o'clock. But the point is that, see, those kids today are not wedded to tradition the way we are. Kids are more vain today.
Think so?
Oh, most definitely. You have more kids it's about me now. It's not, it's me.
It's the me world. It's the me generation.
Right.
Yeah.
It's more so than it has ever been. If I'm not playing, I'm going to another school. We're seeing that play out in our very eyes.
That's very true.
In college.
Yeah.
It used to be, well, I'm gonna stay here. I'm gonna earn my spot. I'm gonna prove to coach. I had to prove it. Hell, when I went to SAU, we had a different coach every damn year. I'm serious. My 3 years that I was there, we had a different head coach every year. I could have very easily transferred, but I said, no, I'm gonna stay here and prove to this coach that I can play. Okay? Today, that doesn't occur. Most of these kids, how do I look? Who has the best facilities? Who has the best looking uniforms? All of that comes into play now.
Right.
Whereas, and that's why I'm working so hard to try to get this facility off the ground at Central and get people involved in it, because if we're going to compete over there, then
Where are they going to build this facility?
they're going to build it right there where the baseball field is. Okay, they can't build it inside Quigley because it's part of the National Register of Historic Places, so you can't do any changes to the structure.
Where's the baseball park going to go?
Here's what I would recommend: that the parking lot where that old basketball court used to be on 14th, which is now just a parking lot, they need to tear that down and move that baseball field right there, or put the facility right there. One of the two. So they've got room to build a facility. They're going to have to build it on that field right there. But again, what I'm saying is that these young people they're not bought into the tradition the way we are, the way we were. It's about where I'm going to be able to go and play and who's going to see me. Right now, North Little Rock That's where all the colleges are paying attention to.
Hey, we got everybody chiming in now. So it's all about bells and whistles now.
Right, that's what I'm
I
saying.
wanted to attend Central because I love seeing the high steppers at the parade. All of that left with all of that left with neighborhood schools. So yeah.
Right. So check this out. To give you a classic example, I know a lot of women who attended Central who wanted to be high steppers. That was their dreams. Yeah. They don't even have high steppers anymore.
Really?
The high steppers that we knew and loved. Oh, that straight leg march that they used to do.
What they got now?
They have a dance team, but they don't have high steppers.
You gotta have high steppers, man.
They call them high steppers, but they're not high steppers.
Come on, man. You can't.
You see? What? Look, and here's the other thing. People who went to other schools, they were envious of the high steppers.
Oh yeah.
Because the high steppers were different.
And what did Parkview have? They had some.
They had the Liberty Bells. But they were not high steppers.
They were not high steppers. They could not even compete.
Right, and Hall had the Cherokees. Them little orange skirts. Ooh, Lord have mercy.
Yes, sir. It was all good over there.
But I'm just saying, but they weren't high steppers.
No.
You know what I'm saying? A good friend of mine who went to Hall, who was a Cherokee, I fell in love with her because she wore that little outfit. Now, we never dated, but every now and then we see she lives in Atlanta now. I tell her all the time, girly girl, I used to love you in that little Cherokee outfit,
Yeah.
But the point is that it's about bells and whistles now. And what Central has got to do to get back on top is get those bells and whistles.
It's not, but Dave, it's not just the bells and whistles, though.
It is to a lot of these kids. I'm sorry.
Okay, we'll agree with this.
I'm just going by what I've seen.
I want it to be about.
That's what you want it to be.
Tradition, baby.
But see, here's
and plus, we don't. Central is nothing like it was back in our day.
Of course it is.
Back in our day, it got a majority of all the quality. I remember one year, I'll never forget it, my sophomore year.
Well, Parkview got some great athletes.
They got some good ones too, don't get me wrong. But I remember my senior year, my sophomore year at Central, trying out for the basketball team. We got Tommy Batch, who was in the ninth grade, he was All-American. Got Johnny Bailey. He was Tommy Batch was All-American at Parkview. Daryl Broussard, who was an All-American at Southwest. Him and Tommy were at Southwest. We had Johnny Bailey, who was also an All-American. Made the All-City team, not All-American, with the All-City team, right? We had Johnny Bailey. Who else was on that? I can't remember my sophomore year. I'm trying to think of everybody who was on that. But the point I'm making is that none of the guys who were on our team, right, who eventually became part of that team, Sam Burdo was an All-City, right? None of these guys were All-City. None of them. You get that, right? That was every year that they got a bulk of these guys.
Right.
Every year without fail. I can't remember who was from Dunbar, but we even had a couple from Dunbar. My point to you is that back in the day, the talent pool was thrust into Central. They didn't have a choice. It was thrust into Central. The talent pool is not thrust into Central like it was then.
And you got to also look at the demographics of what has happened to this city, how it's expanded, and people are living further and further out as well. That contributes to the lack of that talent pool as well.
We still got you got the Sunset Tigers who used to produce these athletes.
But see,
they're still producing these same athletes for whatever reason.
They're going to other schools.
Well, because they don't have a choice because of where they're zoned.
They do have a choice. They can do just like North Little Rock does. How is North Little Rock getting some of these kids from Little Rock?
North Little Rock's probably recruiting. So you gonna tell your coach to go recruit?
No. Here's what they're doing. They're recruiting through classes. Oh, you want to come play over here? Oh, well, they don't offer that over at Central. They don't offer basket weaving over there. And I'm just using that as an example. We offer basket weaving 101 here. So make a petition and say, hey, I want to take this class. And the only place that is close to where I am is North Little Rock. So you're the superstar athlete. You don't really want to take basket weaving, but you use that as a ploy to go to North Little Rock. That happens all the time. That's what's happening now. Okay? So I think, and I don't know how we ended up talking about Little Rock Central today, but here's how Central,
you did that.
Here's how Central can get the tradition back.
Okay.
And there's only one way that you can restore the roar.
That restore the roar,
and that's win.
That's true. You got to win, and they're 2-0 right now, right?
Right.
When is the next game?
Tonight. Now
is it at home?
No, it's in Rogers.
You got to start doing away games, man. I mean, we love the home games. Don't get me wrong. I love listening to the home games, but I want to get the away games.
Our goal, we won't do any away game. We might do Conway. They go to Conway. We might do Conway. But, again, our goal is to wet the whistle of people and say, hey, here's the potential.
I got you.
Okay?
But I still want you to do some away games.
We won't do them this year. Our goal next year is to do home and away. That's our goal.
Let's go to Rogers game now.
Okay.
What you got up?
I don't have anything particular. Let me check. That might be a good idea. I wouldn't mind riding.
Check out the Rogers game.
But my goal is to help people start seeing the potential. Because when we started doing this broadcast, a lot of people didn't see the potential.
Yeah.
Because three years ago, I tried to get this going. 4 years ago, that was before I got here. And many of them looked at me like I was crazy.
I get that.
Okay?
I get that.
So what I have to do now, what I've done now is planted a seed, and it's began to sprout. And it's sprouting dollars. Let's be honest about it.
Yeah.
So when it starts doing that, people start paying attention. And if you could see some of the emails and some of the people that have been CC'd on these emails, people are paying attention. Now, the key is they have to start winning. And
they're doing a good job so far.
So far, I think
Rogers will be a real test tonight, though.
Well, Rogers has not won a game this year.
I thought Rogers was doing pretty good.
No.
Was that last year?
That was last year.
Okay.
They haven't won a game, but certainly, look, they're on the road. When I talked to the kids the other night, what was it, Wednesday? And I told them because some of them was kind of jiving in practice, and coach was getting upset, and I went over to give the MVPs of the game. Marco's Pizza sponsors the most valuable player of every game,
right.
So I give one for offense and defense. And what we don't realize is that this team is 1 year away. But what I told them is that, look, y'all out here grab button and stuff like that. I said, y'all haven't won jack. I said, you got the big head because you're 2-0. You need to be careful. You're going to get slapped this weekend.
Yeah,
okay?
That's what's up.
So when I compare this team to last year to this year, they're night and day, dude. A lot of people don't realize their quarterback this last game, he was 15 for 15. 5 touchdowns. Do what I just said?
Yeah.
15 for 15. They could have scored 100 points on that team.
I got you.
Okay? So, and by the way, their starting tailback, he also had over 150 yards rushing again 2 straight weeks. He's just a junior.
It's not bad.
Their starting quarterback is just a junior. Okay? So, this team is coming, and they've got the right coach to do it. Again, fresh eyes. A lot of people did not like Coach Laster because they wanted that job who were here in Little Rock. The same what we were talking about with the police chief. So they ran interference against him. Okay? I'm just being real.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
And it took him wading through some things to get this team to where it is today.
But I'm proud of what he's doing.
Oh, he's doing. Look, you don't have the #1 offense in the state of Texas for nothing.
Yeah, that's true. That's true now.
Okay?
That's true.
We're talking about Friday Night Lights, folks. This is where he coached. He had the #1 offense in the state of Texas. So it's just a matter of, see, here's the other thing. Once he starts winning, that tradition is going to come back. And those kids that were thinking about going to Central, they're going to come back to Central.
Yeah,
Okay?
I agree.
Or they're going to say, hey, I'm going to Central. They're winning again. Because many of their parents went to Central.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
The young lady that was in there earlier, she graduated from Central. She said her 2 of her sons went to Central, but her youngest one wanted to go to North Little Rock because he wanted to win. He didn't like losing.
Right.
At the time, Central was losing.
Yeah.
Okay? So once they start winning, and that tradition will come back, and I think it's going to begin. It already has begun. But anyway, I didn't plan to use the whole show this last part of the show to talk about Central. But it's so intricate Central is intricate in what Little Rock can be if they use it correctly. They have tried to make Central their own little fiefdom, and they wanted to use political leaders in this city have tried to use Central as a beacon of light to draw tourists, but they have not did well by Central.
Listen, you come look at the building. What else you got to look at?
Oh, I agree. But what I'm saying to you is they have not done right by Central. Okay, if you're going to use Central in that manner,
Yep.
then you need to make sure that you're pouring resources into that school. They haven't been doing that. So that's all I'm saying. By the way, Sherry Shepherd is mad in the last couple of minutes we've got. She's mad because she's got to pay child support to two of her ex-husbands. You know Sherry Shepherd, who used to be on The View. She's talking about how she's, it's so painful and this, that, and the other. And I posted on her wall, just like they would tell a man, welcome to the man's world. Shut up and pay your child support.
No, you didn't do that.
Oh, yes, I did.
Man, you are so damn.
I have no sense. Look, because here's my thing about child support, that if more and more women have to pay child support, it'll go away.
I don't think so.
Oh, it will.
No, women ain't gonna
Oh, yeah, they do. Because you know what? I've had a lot of women who are, and more having to pay child support.
kill it. Yeah, change the outlook.
It's a different, and I say similar to what I just said about Sherry Shepherd. I said, oh, you see what we've been going through now, right? But it's not fair. Oh, really? So you gonna join me in this legislation to try to get it changed?
Nope.
Well, shut up and pay your child support. I'm just saying. So anyway,
It's tough out there, player.
yeah, it is. It's hard for a player.
I feel the breeze.
All right, we got to get out of here again. There's no broadcast tonight for Little Rock Central. Our next home game will be against North Little Rock, September 27th, right here on Joint Ed Radio. So y'all stick and stay for that. Hope you'll enjoy that. And again, if you want to sponsor the broadcast, you can do that as well. Just give me a call at 615-554-0568. I'd love for you to become a sponsor. And if you are a Little Rock Central alum, you ought to be sponsoring
That's what's
this
up.
broadcast. Okay.
LRCH in the house.
Be sure to join me tomorrow morning for the weekly sports magazine. We'll talk more about Jamel Hill. We'll also, and Robert, I meant to bring this up, and we'll get into this next week. The bombshell that was dropped by California on the NCAA. Have you heard about this?
About
The pay,
legislation.
it was passed overwhelmingly with no dissenting votes.
Yeah.
Like 119 to 0.
Yeah, that's gonna be
No dissenting votes. So we're going to talk about that a lot tomorrow as well. So anyway, join me tomorrow at 8. We got to get out of here. Appreciate everybody and all the support that we get from you guys. Without you, we are nothing.
That's it. Hey, y'all, as always, spend money in your own community, because if you don't, nobody else will. Peace.
And my Friday Malcolm fact is, you dispute facts you don't understand with myths you were forced to believe. This mindset keeps you mentally enslaved. Y'all have a great day.
Peace.
You've been listening to Black Focus, where we discuss our issues with our solutions and our voices. Join us every weekday afternoon at 1 p.m. on jointradio.com.
Hey Melvin, how's it going?
What's going on? What you called me last night? What happened?
Oh, I was calling to see if you were gonna be in studio. Mike had called me and said that we